If I wanted to be referable, build a business that sells when I can't, because I can't work 24/7, build a brand that lives rent-free in my audience's mind, and speak in lockstep emotionally with the people that I want to serve, I'd build my messaging around this. I've seen some things, y'all. I've seen some things. There are some people out there that are saying you don't need to do this anymore, and I got some thoughts. In this video, I'm going to talk about how to build a brand and a business. You've got to be referable. That's why in this episode, you're going to learn about the #1 positioning hack that is not going out of style. And yes, I will die on this hill. You're going to learn how to do it, some of the things I think through as a positioning expert. And stay tuned till the end because I'm going to be answering this question that came in from Hannah. I promise it relates. It's gonna all come back together, okay? Thanks for being here. Click the like button if you also have something in your business or about your craft that you believe in so firmly that you will also die on this hill. Good, that means you care. And hey, if we've not yet met, my name is Ashlyn Carter. I left corporate marketing way back in 2016, which I loved, by the way. Left it for copywriting, built an agency, and have since sold more than $1.26 million in web, launch, and email copy services. I firmly believe in small business, in creatives, and in not gatekeeping. So I teach from the trenches about what we do. I do that inside copy templates and tools in the copy bar, inside courses like copywriting for creatives, and in my membership. Let's get into it. Things might get a little spicy. Here we go. So the hack is you have to be referable to build a business. If you don't want to be referable, that's fine. You will just grow slower. Maybe that's your goal. Now I'm going to bring up the big word. I'm going to say it. This probably means niching. I'm going to say it the French way. Of course. I don't care if you don't like that word, you don't want to call it niching. Niching is positioning on a differentiation point. If you like the differentiation word better, say that. I'm talking about playing your unfair advantage card, slamming it down again and again and again. That's your positioning statement. I've got to be able to know what you do in a way where when I hear or I think about something that I need, somebody else need, I can say, this is where you should go. You need to follow this person. This is your go-to. There are a lot of messages out there, and I know they're splashy, they're interesting, they come up on your For You feed, they say you don't have to niche. Fun fact, hot take, you don't need to niche. But I've looked at those accounts, I've looked at the people that are saying those things, they have a niche. Maybe they're not calling it that, they have a differentiation point. And again, that's what niching is positioning on that differentiation point. That's it. I think what's going on out there is people assume niching means serving a specific set of people, like serving a certain group. And I also think a lot of y'all are hung up on, I do X for Y as your niche. Niching by your industry is not the only way to niche. Again, do you have to do this? No, there's no niche police out there. But from a positioning standpoint, now say this as a copywriter. What do I know though? I've just had a business for 8 years and helped tens of thousands of people with positioning. But you have to be able to craft a story, build a narrative, carve out an identity. Whether you want that to be on your skill set, it doesn't matter. It works either way. But again, it comes back to you must be referable. If you're so vague and nebulous that I can't figure out how to send people to you, that's a problem. And don't just think service providing, like I refer people to you and they need a service. Think about the last time you were with friends and you said something like, oh my gosh, do you guys follow so-and-so on Instagram? Oh, you have to. Just stop right now and think about the last time you said that. That person has a niche. We'll use that word again. They have a position. Now, if you're multi-passionate, you've got lots of interests, stay with me. I'm going to talk to you about that. I get you because I am you. But a lot of the multi-hyphenate people that we see out there who have lots of different varied interests, they at least stayed with something long enough to double down where they could become referable. It's like that story of the little boy with the paperclip and he traded and he traded and he traded and he traded. They played their cards. They became referable enough to earn the right to grow. And then once that grew, then they grew some more. But they threw their stake down at the beginning and again earned that right to expand past one thing. I was watching the edits back on this and I thought I want to tell you 9 ways that you can differentiate your brand that are not just demographic specific. Because again, that's what most people think of. I need to serve working moms. I need to serve creatives. You can do that, or you can do, these are 9 other ways. Number 1, your price. Differentiate yourself based on price. $5 footlongs from Subway. So you can be competitive on price for sure. That's one way to do it. But you could also go for a certain price point along the way. Or think about Tucky Moore has $1 Million Coach. Boom. People that want to make $1 million and be a coach. Idea 2, the problem that you're solving. There's a brand designer out there who has these incredible semi-custom designs. So she designs a semi-custom brand and then she'll iterate on it for 6 people. That's all. And then it's done. Great problem solved. Idea 3, your product itself. Invent a category. Be first to market on something. To my newsletter, I did a little copy teardown on Groove. It's a new co-working app. It's a great idea. To my knowledge, they're first to market on it. They own the niche right now. And even if other people make it, then they get to say they were first to market. So win-win. Idea 4, your geographic location. If you can own your niche in a geographic location or confine, do that as long as you can. It's just waiting for you to grab. Next idea, your experience, your combination of specific experience points is unique to you. So own that. Number 6, your industry, and this is different from demographic that you serve. So your industry would be something more like being an SEO copywriter for Amazon or a quiz copywriter. Number 7, your visual identity. Be the only one with that look for that market. Number 8, your process or your method. You're probably the only one, don't deify it, but you probably have an order to how you do things that's slightly different from the person next to you. So own it, talk about it. That's your IP. Okay, and number 9, the last one, and this is my favorite because you own the monopoly on this one, your story. You're the only one that has your unique story. So that is the thing paramount to differentiate yourself on, in my opinion. Okay, there you have it. 9 other ways that are not just demographic related that you can differentiate yourself on. Again, there's no niche police. You don't have to do this, but I'm trying to tell you, if you want to grow faster, if you want people to be able to send you business, people to be able to say, go get that, go buy that, you've got to follow that brand. Oh my gosh, I cannot stop thinking about them. And you've got to figure out how to be referable, and that is having a positioning statement. I did a whole series one time about what I'd do if I lost it all and had to start over. And I stand by what I said in that. I would go into something, carve out some sort of new niche, become the go-to girl or guy in that, at least so word of mouth carries me pretty far, and then I'd hop verticals. I'm about to get into part 2, but let me pause and say, if you can't tell me why you do what you do, the way you do it differently or better than somebody who does the very same thing or offers the very same thing that you do, you've got to get inside Copywriting for Creatives. We're launching an entire new cohort here in a couple of weeks. Look down below or go to awcopyclass.com to get on the wait list. Before I tell you how to find your niche or your referability factor, let's talk about how I want you to build the business and then the brand. And a lot of people mix this up. So again, back to Hannah's question. She is basically asking, what do you do when people tell you that they'll buy something and then they just don't? No matter how many surveys, no matter how much you ask, they're just not buying. Don't be allured into building the brand before you've built the business. Here's what I mean. People will tell you all day, I would buy that. Oh my gosh, girl, sell your art. Somebody would love to buy that. You know what? You should really XYZ. People would totally buy that. I don't believe them. I don't believe at this point I've gotten where until I have the cold hard cash in my bank account from somebody paying me for something, I don't believe that. Those ideas are little gremlins. People will say they'll buy things and then when push comes to shove, they won't actually do it. The problem is a lot of people will go out and build a brand all around selling something when you've got to be darn sure that the thing itself sells without the bells and whistles. Do you have proof of purchase on the thing itself? That comes into having a dead sexy offer, a good, tight, dynamite offer. And then you build the positioning around that. You get the messaging and the story of it first, and then you put on the skin around it next. You don't start with the skin and the look and the feel and the brand of it and then build the thing. So to keep going with that question, when people aren't buying and you're trying to figure out, okay, what is that offer? What is my referability factor? Again, I want you to stop thinking about niche as I do X for Y. That was really hot a few years ago. I think it still works, but I think some people have gotten into this mind disease where that's all they think about niching about, and that's not what it is. Niching is finding your little mosaic of overlapping things that is unique to you. It's, again, your unfair advantage in playing it. So I think it's 3 big things. Number 1, it's an intersection of your skill set and your passions and your interests. What are you uncannily obsessed with? What are you phenomenally good at? I think that merits being said time and time again. Be really stinking dang good at what you do. Study it over and over and over and over and over again. So you have this little microcosm of your interests, your passions, and the things that you're unbelievably good at. Then you need to overlap that with what people need, the gap in the market out there, and then the things people will actually pay for. So where those overlap is your niche, your differentiation point. Okay, let's talk to you who are multi-passionate. You're creative, but I don't want to do the same thing over and over again. How do I niche down? How do I still enjoy what I do? Like I said, I understand that because I am a very creative. I have multiple interests. I have interests that are part of my brand and my business. I have ones that I want to keep separate. Just because you're picking a differentiation point does not mean your creativity is going to die. And if it is, you're doing it wrong. I have 5 antidotes if this is tripping you up that you can do. But in fact, I'm going to argue that you should be some sort of a generalist or at least have lots of interests. Cal Newport people will know there's a guy named David Epstein. He was on Cal's podcast early on, but he wrote a whole book arguing about why you should be a generalist and how that will broaden your career direction more than just being a specialist. So instead of picking one skill and that being your skill for your whole life, he talks about exploring, experimenting, specializing, being inefficient in some things, and being prepared to pivot. Wouldn't you know, all those things sound like what entrepreneurship is. How many times in my videos have I said you have to know enough to be dangerous as the CEO, as the business owner, as the brand builder, as the visionary? Just because you've picked a niche or a brand positioning statement does not mean you can't be a generalist and have broad interests. These things are not incongruent. 2 things can be true at the same time. You can be both. I'll even double down. Copywriters, this is especially you. Joe Sugarman has like paragraphs in one of his books where he talks about to be a good copywriter, you've got to be interested in a lot of things because that's what makes copy interesting. So be multi-passionate. Have a brand positioning statement, be referable, but be multi-passionate. You can be both. So my little 5 ways to get out of this rut if you're stuck thinking in the path of like, I must do X for Y people. Number 1, have fun again with what you do. Figure out ways to make it fun. Near y'all wrote an article on this. I shared it with my dog-eared newsletter. Get on the newsletter if you're not. 50,000 people will love it. He was talking about what can you do to have fun in your work. Number 2, have a secret menu with what you do. Take work that doesn't necessarily fit what your car wash menu says. We do this in our agency and it is so fun. This sharpens you, it makes you better. It lets you kind of test your hypotheses on different markets, see if it still works. It's so fun. Take on that work. Now make sure that you put your CEO hat on and it fits inside the confines of your usual projects so you can figure out cost of goods and everything. But that's so fun. Have a secret menu. Number 3, have passion projects in your business. More on that in a sec, but this is one of my favorite phrases around this. Sometimes your day job needs to fund your daydream. So sometimes you're going to have to kind of double down for a little bit on something until you build, like I said earlier, you build the right to add in the other thing and you build the right to add in another thing. Play the long game. Number 4, those other things that you're interested in, bring them in. I've called them in the past like brand mascots. Bring them in as little story hooks and lines in your business. I love candles. I love products. Love a good skincare product. I love pop culture references and obviously appreciate a good mom hack. I have not built products or will around these kinds of things, but I like talking about them. So I have found ways to insert them into my brand messaging and story. Okay, lastly, on the SEO front, and Jess Stansberry did a fantastic YouTube video. She called it the creator curse and how once you start owning an SEO niche, the algorithm does kind of tend to favor you for doing more of that. And that can be exhausting. Go watch that video. I'll link it below. But here's how I have found how to play that game. Let your pillar piece of content service the algorithm gods. But again, let yourself have fun with the other content elsewhere. Start doing the live show where you talk about whatever you want, or posting reels where you just talk about whatever you want. Have in your newsletter space dedicated to talking about the other things you're interested in. Yes, you can share off portfolio work. I'll give you 3 creatives who are doing that really well. My friend Abby Springman always had her ballerina portraits as this on the side thing, and people knew her for it. Our client KT Mary does the same thing. KT is passionate about preservation and the beautiful creation that exists out there on continents like Africa, and she talks about this in her branding. Simber Studios, they do a great job showing non-portfolio work on their website. So just because you pick a niche doesn't mean you're beholden to only thinking and being a robot forever. If anything, I hope I argued well that you can and you should be multi-passionate while being referable. And being referable is your key to growing. Nope, there's no niche police, but if you want to build a business, you're going to have some sort of positioning statement. Okay, I hope that helped. Get on the Copywriting for Creatives waitlist. Thanks as always for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.